apparently it's showtime. So here we go, everybody. Here we go. I'm over here big, and everyone else is small over there. I can never get this right. So here we are for NPC chat number 2. I just wanted to say hi to everybody out there. We have all kinds of people, as we normally do. This is about connecting people who have different kind of jobs, different parts of the world, and all we want to do is to make sure that people get connected a little bit. So why don't you guys introduce yourself? And we're already starting with technical issues because I'm going to see if I can share a screen so that we can see pictures of you guys, right?
Oh.
What we asked everybody to do, here he is, the little bugger himself.
Claudius.
This is Claudius. What we asked everybody to do is to send me a picture of themselves that they really like and or a picture of themselves as a kid. So, Sin, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I may be able to do this. Here we go. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we will share a little bit of information with you, okay? Who are you? Where are you at?
Who's going to share what with who?
That's you, Sin. You're up.
Oh, man. All right. So I am Sin, also known as Senate AL, Senator Garth, depending on where you've been in my life in the last 15 years. By day, I am an insurance agent. That is my grandbaby. Her name is Pippa. She does not take shit from nobody, to say the least. Literally, she doesn't put up with nothing right now. She is 3 months old and basically loves everybody about, no, she doesn't. She doesn't love anybody.
And, and then you sent me one other picture, which I believe...
This is my baby. He's Shango. I miss him. He passed away in October from liver failure and Cushing syndrome, but he was my best friend first. And he's a husky, and he was my bestest buddy. He made the trip from Florida to Alabama, where I currently live. 13 hours in a U-Haul truck, people. 13 hours. My bestest friend, he was.
All right. So that tells us a little bit about you, Jay. This is you. You had some books published, right?
Yeah, I'm a comic book and novel writer and an actor, and that's a recent picture just before the shutdowns. And I have 2 series running right now. The Dark comic there is Over the Ropes. It's a 90s pro wrestling comic that takes place in the South in 1992. The other one is Hellfighter Quinn, a fantasy martial arts, heavy violence, heavy graphic nature tournament. Sin didn't mention she's a very talented writer and a great editor. She did the front edits for Hellfighter Quinn. And we got to go on the signing tour at some shops at the 1st of March.
Back in the old days.
Yeah, just before the world changed. So that was issue 1, and there's still 4 more issues to go. Are they going to be digital only? Are they going to be delayed? I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
but
it's all different now. It's
all different. It is all different. Yeah, I'm very thankful that I, get to tell stories and I can create and self-publish my own, but I'm, hoping these series all land the way they should. I'm in the same boat as everybody else, I guess, right now, though.
Right. Absolutely. So also on the stream with us are friends of mine, Joe and Diana. Why don't you guys tell us who you are, and we'll show a little bit of your life.
Joe and Diana met, and we've been married. Just June will be 20 years, and we met as actors about 25, 26 years ago. So I would run into him at auditions back when it was, always in person. And I was like, dude, that guy's ridiculously hot. And then we got cast in the last play I ever did in 95. And so we got to know each other then. And he's just the best person I've ever met in my life. So
Joe, you were ridiculously hot, man, and then you let yourself go, dude. I'm sorry. Look what Joe used to look like. Well, maybe there you go. Look at that.
Yeah, that was my stud date.
You're a stud, man. And this is awesome because I'm literally I got all these ways to mess with you people. Diana, I believe there's a picture of you coming up. This one? Is that you?
Look at that.
That is an unhappy face.
Yeah.
It's a little not safe for work.
No.
Not that any of us are at work.
Where were you?
My dad was Air Force, so we were stationed in Greece at the time, and we lived right near the beach. We were at the beach all the time, and this is just the way I, didn't wear sunglasses. So if the sun was in my eyes, I'd just and that's my natural hair color.
Right. There you go. So, all right, Ron is up. Ron and I have been mates for a long time. Ron is an amazing writer. And this is a picture of Ron as he is right now. Look at him, handsome chap. Look, and this is the Ron that we know. This is the Ron that we don't know, but it's really quick. Look at that. Look at it. What was that book, Ron?
That was a Gil Kane Spider-Man. Maybe early 70s.
Early 70s. And you were how old in that picture, you think?
37.
You were 37 in that picture?
I'm probably 6 or 7 is my guess. But I don't remember that picture being taken, but I have it. So it was obviously, somehow I was thrilled with getting that 25-cent comic off the spinner rack at the drugstore and forced my mother to take that photo when we got home.
Right. That's a great one. Yeah, you just look at what I got, right?
The hunter's returned with his kill, obviously.
So, one of the things that we're going to do a little bit is we're going to kind of chat, find out how everyone's doing, but we're also going to kind of loosely theme stuff because I have attention deficit disorder and I could Claudius Milan. So we're going to talk a little bit about conventions today because obviously, Ron, you and I are going to be able to share convention stories. As you can see, I'm broadcasting live from San Diego Comic Convention.
Yeah.
He's biting my shoulder now because he wants a little bugger. And we're going to talk a little bit about conventions. Our convention experiences, Ron, are brilliant because I know you've got crazy stories, but all you guys are convention people, I think. Diana and Joe, I'm going to bring up your little secret at some point because you are writers and actors, but I imagine that you've been to a couple of different types of conventions. I would think, considering where I met you guys from. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first of all, you guys are also going to be the crash test dummy because you see all this screen sharing I've done. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of myself. So I've been scouring the internet for fun things that will make people happy.
Oh gosh.
And I'm really amazed by people's inventiveness in this time. Okay. So we're going to test and see if our audio works because I found this little thing. Actually, my cousin Layla in England sent it to me, and it's really cool. So I figured I'd play it so that everybody could be in a happy mood to start, right? Even though everyone's miserable and the zombie apocalypse is happening. Check it out. Check these guys out. And by the way, check out the beauty of this woman's voice when you hear it.
That's awesome.
Happiness. Can you guys hear that, by the way? Because I'm literally doing it on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
That was cool.
Agreed.
Something else. All right. Apparently, there's something really, really loud as well on the screen, so I don't know how that works. But,
is that you?
Oh, I see. The next thing is playing. See, I had it right until the next thing started playing, so I'm going to have to learn that, right? I apparently can't. I have to kind of be on top of it. So one of the things that I think is really cool, Ron, maybe let me kind of go to you, but all you guys are in on this. I'm seeing people being really creative right now about how they're doing things because we're all locked up, right? And so we actually have a few things in my company that we're going to be doing, and I'm really excited. Watching people like those guys, and they found that woman who, by the way, has the voice of an angel. Her voice is
Yeah.
So beautiful. And they couldn't be with her, so they literally plugged her in, and she was there on the phone, and she could hear it through her headphones, and she comes and she sings live with them. To me, that's amazing. You seen it? What you seen, Ron? Have you seen anybody doing anything like Mad? Or
well, it's just I think about the stuff we're going through now. If we weren't connected like we are, if we weren't doing this thing, right? If this was 20 years ago, we would have no way of reaching out. We'd have no way of staying in touch. So even though this seriously sucks, and I think it probably sucks for people who are used to going out of the house, unlike me, because this is work for me. This is down the stairs and into my office, and this is where I am 7 days a week. So it's not a huge adjustment for me, but I know for a lot of people, like being stuck in your house is not something they're used to. But this has been my way of life for almost 30 years. So it's not that big a difference to me. But I know the rest of the world is like, oh my God, I'm stuck at home. What am I going to do? I'm out of video games. I'm out of stuff to stream. I'm going to blow my brains out. But to me, this is just like, this is every day. So this is like doing a flight to Australia, and the guy in front of you is like, can't sit still in his seat, and you're just used to it. And you're like, I can do this standing on my head, man.
Yeah. I learned about everybody else's quarantine, and I'm like, that's pretty much an average Wednesday for me. So I'm really fine with quarantine, right? Because this is what I do. And, basically even doing the stream, it's like, it's the same thing for me. I'm in the house, my cat's attacking me for treats. I'm drinking a cup of tea. I've worked out, by the way, I just realized what was happening. So I'm drinking my tea, and I realized, we're broadcasting to the world. So, I probably could have chosen a better cup.
I suppose.
Like
we're not. The only difference for me is there are more people in the house now. Like my kids are here. They'd normally be off at university and in high school, and they're like here all the time. So they're like annoying me actually. They're like making noise and stuff. But they're completely connected to all their friends too. They're all, they're alone together.
Yeah.
So Diana and Joe, like, have you guys seen anything cool, creative that you hadn't seen before?
I mean, just like you showed, those sorts of videos are so uplifting and entertaining, and I love that people are still connecting and being positive and still finding some levity and joy with each other.
I enjoyed the one, I think it went viral. It's the one in Italy where the streets were empty, but you could hear people singing.
Oh yeah,
and that was really cool.
Yeah,
you didn't see anybody, but you could hear them all singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got one. I'm gonna go and cue this up in a minute, because we're learning about my ability. You guys, the dude who is the commentator. Have you guys seen this yet?
Oh yeah,
absolutely great. So there's a guy who in Great Britain who couldn't get any work, right? He was struggling, like he obviously wasn't getting any work, and so he got him. So I'll show you this. Here we go. We're going to share the screen. We'll try this again because I'm working this as we go. So this guy right here, we'll get it right in a second. We'll line it up. This guy is a commentator, and he's a British soccer and rugby commentator, and he couldn't get any work, so he decided to commentate on mundane things. Check it out.
Crossroad dash, light turns to red. We wait for the beats. There they are now then. JD Sportsman, he's got a decent start. Leggings on the outside. Oh, JD Sportsman gets distracted over the shoulder. And Leggings is going to get there. Oh, she does it again. 3 titles in 3 days. Off past Vegas Gold for the lap of honor.
This guy is brilliant, and he finds Monday stuff. So, funnily enough, this one in the middle here, this is literally, there's a picture of me as a little kid. This is Tooting Beck Common in South London. Check out his football commentary.
Well, you join me here live at Tooting Common.
And well, this is the final of the Two Lonely Blokes in a Park contest, and well, that was absolutely terrible. We can't expect really from these two. They've been here for some time. The runners in the distance, not keeping enough distance, frankly. And utterly useless.
These two are utterly this guy apparently this guy went viral. I mean, this guy just like blew up, and so he went from 5,000 people to about 95,000 people overnight because everybody realized how brilliant he was.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
I think the fact is that we recognize the joke, right? Because the joke is we're all like unable to do what we normally do. So this guy was brilliant, and he found out a way to do it anyway, and everybody really appreciates him. You know?
Yeah.
So tell me how you guys are like. Oh, here's a good one because we brought this up the other day. As you have a minute or two to think about it. If you've got any recipes for everybody, I've found in the past that when people have apps, for example, there you go, Brady Bunch. Apps. I always say to them, tell everyone what your favorite phone app is, because there's all these phone apps that people don't know about, and then they find them and they're like, wow, that's really cool. Or tell everybody what your favorite movie is that you've seen that most people don't know, but that you know is a really good movie, right? So we're going to start right there because I did this on my Facebook page last night. Ron, I don't know if you thought you may have been on it or not. What's a movie that you know that most people don't know about that is an amazing movie? And I'm going to start you guys so you guys can all take note. The movie Max with John Cusack is about the return of Adolf Hitler after the First World War, and he comes back and he finds that he's at a crossroads, and we all know which way he's going to go. But he's befriended by a Jewish art dealer, and it's all about how he becomes Adolf Hitler and what he's dealing with, and he could have gone a different way. Anybody else got a great film?
So I know we all kind of want levity now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's a scary movie, but it's one that I've probably have given out over and over again. The Exorcism of Emily Rose by Scott Derrickson.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. If you've never seen it, it's not your traditional scary movie. It's set in a courtroom for part of the movie. And yeah, it's based off of a true story.
All right. So
that's a good one. Jumping off that, it went straight from theaters to streaming. We watched The Invisible Man, the new one.
Yeah.
And it was very good, not just from the the scary and the suspense and the thriller aspect, but the whole commentary on abuse and couples gaslighting one another.
Yeah.
Well, so we went from Hitler to exorcism to abuse and couples gaslighting. Has anyone got a comedy in there? Because we've got anything. Help us out.
Frozen 2?
We have a theater room in our basement, and I'm just thinking about the posters, which clearly is indicative of what we love. So we have Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yes.
And Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Excellent.
And oh gosh, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
What's one that we don't know though? That's the trick.
I know, right? I know.
Shoot.
I think
Duck Soup.
most people sort of know this one now because it's not really a cult movie anymore. But What We Do in the Shadows,
Yeah.
is great. And I think the second season of the TV series is coming up next month. They can't take away our What We Do in the Shadows. So if anybody hasn't seen the original film, it's just terrifically well made. Sort of has that New Zealand quality that I think starts to come through in films that come from there. Peter Jackson and Taika Waititi. So yeah, when I need levity, I think that's the one that goes in more often than not.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's amazing to me when I went through my Facebook page and I was looking at what people had said. Like, so I had all these responses to this thing about, like, you know, what movies do you know that I don't know? But there were some reminders in there, like the movie Brick. If you've never seen Brick, it's incredible. And just, it's a great kind of question to ask on your social media. Ask people what they don't know. In fact, I'm going to put you guys on the spot again. Do you have a go-to app that people should know about? Because this is cool. Like, all we're doing is sharing information.
A go-to app that nobody. Yeah, actually, I have a couple.
Hey, Paul.
My No Perfect Wife is like literally whispering at me. It's literally just a scream. Babe, what do you need? And are there any more treats for the cat? No, they're upstairs.
My allergy.com app is one that I go to all the time.
Yeah. Allergy.com.
Dude, yeah, the allergy is it basically gives you the pollen count, and for people who suffer from allergies, it's probably one of the best things to help you get through the season, especially if you're like me and you have just enough things that get you through the whole year. Some days when you wake up and you don't know why you suddenly can't breathe, it's the best thing to check in with.
So I have terrible allergies, and if you're struggling with allergies, one of the things is that so I have always had, I'm allergic to everything, including I'm allergic to weed. So if I smell the residue of people smoking weed, my nose, my lips go numb, and my fingers go numb.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really bad. And so I
didn't even have to pay for it.
Say what?
I didn't even have to pay for it.
No, I mean, it's not fair, because I feel like I should have been a big stoner, but I never was a big stoner. I certainly not. I'm allergic to dust. I'm allergic to ragweed. I'm allergic to pollen. I'm allergic to everything.
Cockroaches.
Yeah.
Cockroaches. Definitely allergic.
Okay, so I've got that one, by the way, Sin. The WebMD allergy app. We can maybe see it. Yeah, can I angle it the right way? This thing. Yeah. Oh, look at that. It's got green screen effect on it as well. Look. See?
Nice, out there.
That's pretty good. All right. Anybody else got an app? Ron, you got an app?
I really don't, you know, because I don't leave the house.
No, you don't.
Serial Box app. If you love audiobooks, yeah, Serial Box app. If you love audiobooks and reading ebooks, they do both. So they're like one of my favorite go-to apps all the time, because they do it seasons. So basically, like, they release like one chapter at a time for certain things. Like right now they do Thor Metal Gods, and they have like Jessica Jones coming up and a few others. And it's like, you're like, come on, give me the next one already. I'm ready for the next episode. Come on.
I'll definitely take in the chat. I'll definitely take ideas on what's a really good app. Who else has got one?
So it's not an app so much, but we've been doing a lot of you don't know Jack. So
yes.
Yes. How do we play it now on the PlayStation?
Yeah, we set it up on the PlayStation, but then you log into the website. What is it? You don't know Jack.com, I think, or Jackbox.com.
Jackbox.com, and you just play, like, is it trivia?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's rude. It's so rude,
and it
is awesome.
You guys gave me a great idea. We should do that on this. We should do, like, you know, Jackbox or something. That's a great idea. Ron, you got one? Did you just say you don't have any app?
I really don't, because I, you know, like, literally don't leave the house. I'm always on my laptop. You know, like the best thing I've got is the Delta app, so I can catch my flights. But obviously, I'm not doing that either.
That would have been good 3 weeks ago, but now it's a really bad idea. You know.
Yeah,
so.
I used to be through Atlanta all the time, and now. Now, like, if I get to the end of the driveway, it's a pretty big deal for the day.
Well, I've got one for you guys. Monument Valley. It's a game.
Monument Valley.
Monument Valley, yeah, uses the phone in a way that, so you get perspectives. So something will turn, and now, like, if, for example, like this, you know, here it looks like it's flat, and when it turns, it's thin. And now you can do a different thing with it. So you puzzle your way through, but you use perspective to change the way that you do it. And it's kind of beautiful, you know, like the music's really cool. There's no dialogue in it. You don't have to do anything. So definitely, you know, if anyone out there has never played it, play Monument Valley, because it's the kind of game that even my Night Perfect wife, she was like, I don't really play games. which, by the way, she's hilarious when she plays games. It's brilliant. She's a mindless machine of destruction. It's great. But she played Monument Valley and she loved it. And so if you've never played it, have fun with it. Speaking of which, by the way, we've been trying to get my wife to play video games, and she's yeah, Night Perfect has destroyed the universe in a few accidentally. So we'll get to another question in a second. So this is what's going on with me. I like doing things that we shouldn't, we normally don't do. So I'm gonna finish a bunch of music. I've got a bunch of things, and I was saying on the stream the other day, I'm going to lose a bit of the last bit of weight that I want to lose and feel good. Have you guys got anything that you want to do while you're locked up that you haven't done?
So I would love to. So when I was little, I played the piano like really well, and then I just kind of let it go for a while. And we have a piano here, but it's with his office. So now he's working from home, and his desk is literally right by. So I can't freaking play the piano and practice it while he's.
Sure, you can. Sure, you can. It's called. He gets to take a break right when you start to practice.
Yeah, Joe. I think we know how that works, Joe. To be quite honest.
I'm playing the piano.
Yeah, play the piano
all day with people. That would not be good.
Sin, what have you got? Have you got anything that you want to do?
Well, see, I do aromatherapy a lot. So one of the things that I've been doing is getting back into it a lot more. So it's something that I do for fun and enjoyment. So I'm doing that again, getting back into shape, because I have an upstairs and downstairs now, which I had avoided for like 15 years. And then I got it an upstairs and downstairs. So I'm running up and downstairs a lot more now. So yeah, getting back in shape is like really kind of an important deal to me.
Right, look, see, I see Keith in the chat. Keith says you finish your novels. I'm like, do it, man. Get it.
That's the other thing that's on my list.
Ron,
Especially since I did my first comic script. So yeah, that was fun.
people who know me well know that I say a lot of these things that I've learned to say over years, and one of them is writers don't write, right? Writers finish things.
Exactly.
So there's no sense in being in the middle of something. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Finishing it would be Ron, because Ron and I are mates, and so I know Ron is a noted curmudgeon and will say, no, I've got nothing to do.
Well, I mean, the thing that I miss the most is going to the gym. Like getting out of the house for an hour and going to the gym that's 10 minutes away. That's the only thing I really gave a shit about. I'm like, oh wait, I don't get to go to the gym anymore. Now this is serious.
Yep.
So having to do that at home now is all right. All right, we'll get that going. But I think the only other thing that I'm going to do, depending on how long this goes on, is I'm going to start a novel.
Oh,
congrats!
Yeah.
I'm doing that as well.
Because the thing that I need to do is sit at this desk more, obviously.
Dictate. Do you know? I mean, that's one of the things that I find that people who have trouble doing prose more is if they learn to dictate it into stuff, that they find it easier to transcribe it after.
I can dictate comic scripts because those are all sort of front of the brain kind of things. But
yeah.
I think when I've written prose, I need to work with it. I need to sit down and sort of work with it rather than stream of consciousness. So I did a couple of short stories recently and kind of started to stretch those muscles again. So, and that was always what I had intended to be, when I grew up, which still hasn't happened. But
you mean growing up?
I've never grown up.
But once I started doing comics, I started doing comics when I was, in my very early 20s, and I've been doing it ever since. So, like, the actual time to do prose is just never there, but there's going to be more time now, I do believe. So, it's a whole different muscle. I don't know if you've done much, Paul, but
I'm writing my second and third novel right now. I'm actually writing two of them. I had written one.
Are they sequels to the first one, or
no? I kid you not. Right? The first one was called Curiosity, and it was a very much like a Douglas Adams type of fantasy. The second one that I'm writing is a murder mystery that's set in ancient London when the wall is being built around ancient London. It's literally about the world's first forensic detective. He's a Decanus or a Roman soldier. And the third one I'm writing is literally for a game company. I'm writing a novel of their stuff. So I happen to get those 2 gigs at the same time. So I'm doing 2 of them right now. Also 2 screenplays, a game, and other creators. So I'm in the madness. But I tell you
what do you do after lunch?
Yeah. So,
so where's that sleeping thing? Does that happen at all?
Don't sleep. Don't need to. The muscle for writing novels is very different. I would never want to say anything in a novel. I can't. I could do it for a comic, although I've never done it. Jay, you say that you're writing a novel?
Yes, I'm just really glad to be here, not just with you, Paul, but Ron. I've been a fan of your work for a long time, so I just need to throw that out there. But in addition to writing,
my work here is done. See
yes,
Right.
I do a lot of acting. I do acting on stage. I'm in an improv group, and we had just worked out a deal to tour with a burlesque troupe to open for them. That is off the table at this point. There won't be any burlesque shows and, with all that. So we've been trying to think of what to do instead. So I'm probably going to take some time and work on a reel for, I'd really like to work on some voice acting, and whether it's audiobook narration, something of that nature. I'm a podcaster, so I've got a lot of material to put one together. Not quite sure what to do with it once I have it, but I'll figure that out next.
Okay, excellent. So another thing that I'm doing, let's talk about working out, because this is a mad one, right? Maybe people have got ideas. I know what I'm doing, which is I walk the golf course at night. I get in at least 10 to 15,000 steps a day. Sometimes recently I've done 35,000 steps, which is actually something like cut it in half, and that's how many miles it is. So 2,000 steps is a mile. But I'm taking all my business calls and I'm walking. So, that means I get a little bit more. And then I'm doing 200 push-ups a day. And I do monitor what I eat so that I know what my nutrition is. So I expect to come out of this and be thin.
Nice.
Really, I'm working on it. Does anyone else have, Ron, what are you doing for your workouts, man?
Doing walking, and I would like to add that I Walk the Golf Course at Night is the name of my novel. So
is it? Well,
yeah. It's a hard-boiled detective who also happens to be a golf pro. No, so usually what I would do is I would go to the gym and do the treadmill and then do the weight circuit and the whole thing. And now it's unlike yesterday when we had a snowstorm and got 6 inches of snow. We live on a lake, so I would walk or run around the lake at least once a day. And if I can't do that, I'm on the exercise bike and just doing push-ups and that kind of stuff, because my oldest does not live at home. He has his own apartment, and he took all the weights with him. So I have no more actual weights, and apparently nowhere to go buy them. So
right.
Yeah, no. Well, Amazon, man, they'll deliver anything.
Well, yeah, I looked up weights. I looked up to get weights delivered, and it was like, the weights are like $300, and it's another $200 to get them delivered. And I thought, well, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, thank you.
Yeah, I would say another thing that I've been doing is so for me, I do work a lot, and I work all the time, right? And my vacation is doing something other than writing. So I've been fixing my house. I've been up the top fixing my gutters. It's been awesome. I'm always so excited, and I'm always really impressed with myself. My wife's not that impressed with me at all for doing it.
I bet you she has it.
Yeah, but I'll go up the top, and I'll be up a 30-foot ladder, and I'm literally hanging stuff, and I've been fixing all of my drainage. And it really rained hard where I live today, and you didn't see any of the rain coming down. I got such a sense of accomplishment out of it. So doing our jobs
Yeah.
Right now,
Praying hard today.
the apocalypse is literally my favorite thing. Like, this is awesome. I'm getting really productive. I got a bunch of stuff done. I got new ideas. It's like, this is like my favorite thing ever. If it wasn't, wasn't for the fact that my kids are at home.
Think about you.
I stick with the treadmill for the walking. I'm like you, Paul, with the push-ups daily, and I work with my resistance band. Sin, did I leave it in the room next to you over there?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, I was looking for it. Yeah, you took my resistance band. I work with the
Some of us
resistance
have skills,
band.
man.
Yeah, on I guess 5 days a week anyway.
Yeah.
So that's usually the workout I've been enjoying anyway. I go to the gym, but it's just to use the tanning bed, and now I'm gonna be pale again.
Poor guy, he'll be pale like me. So yeah,
it's a shame, isn't it? Terrible thing. So all right, well, let's go kind of like pivot a little bit then, because we got to know each other and we got to chat a little bit. And really the thing is, like, this is all about like wanting people to connect. But one of the things that I know that I see a lot, and I think you guys have done this in different ways, and I'm about to expose Diana and Joe's deep, dark secret in a minute. So get ready, guys. Everyone's about to learn what else you do, which is really cool. But this was nominally about conventions, right? So one of the things that's really upsetting is watching people lose their livelihoods and struggle with their livelihoods. I'm a writer. Ron, I think you probably are similar to me in this. I go to conventions, but I don't really make money at conventions. I never have tried to. I don't really sell stuff, and I don't charge for signatures. I want to be really clear that I don't think there's any problem with charging for signatures, because I think it helps people with their livelihoods. But right now, all the conventions have been closed down. So, Jay, you've been lining up to start going to conventions because you had your book, right? And you were going to start. There's a wolf. I know that. What was that? Was that yours, Ron?
Yeah, those are mine. I'm gonna mute so you don't have to listen to them.
Oh, I love it. It's great. I've got something to say, right?
It's likely the UPS driver in the driveway, because they see him every other day, but they go ballistic every time.
obviously that is their greeting committee. That is the greeting committee.
And Joe and Diana, I'm going to go out and I'm going to out you guys now, right? So one of the things that Joe and Diana do is that they did, or I don't know if they do it anymore. I know that they're sort of involved in this, is ghost hunting and or a ghost tour, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering, did you used to go to like ghost hunting conventions and do stuff like that? Because that would rock, and I want to know like how that plays out. Is there a lot of intrigue? Is everybody doing each other like in the hotels at night?
It happens in the dark.
Absolutely. Okay, so we literally would go around the U.S. to. Well, I would, because I had a book, and the tour was kind of under my name, and because he worked at UPS, so that was my thing. So yeah, we would go around the country, and I would be a speaker at events. And I will say that there were a lot of male hoes, but zero ever hit on me. So really. Really?
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, it must be terrible. So you didn't get hit on, but tell us, now that we've outed you, both of you, you got to tell us a little bit about ghost hunting and what it was that you guys did, because this is cool.
Okay. So for 19 years, I ran the Roswell Ghost Tour. It became the most popular in the U.S., so that was amazing.
And she has a book, Roswell History, Haunts, and Legends.
Wrote a book, Roswell History, Haunts, and Legends. And we also had a paranormal team, so we would help people who had issues feeling they had hauntings. And we were skeptics first and foremost. So most of the time we would tell people rational things, rational reasonings for why they were experiencing what they were experiencing. About 10%, we would be like, yeah, we can't explain this. And we have documentation for backing up what they had. So, I mean, we have photos. Joe's bringing up his photo right now, his phone right now, photos of things we never could explain, even on our tour. And we were skeptics first and foremost. Absolutely.
The shocking but not shocking thing is I've done ghost investigations, and I've also been a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network. I did it when I lived in Cincinnati. We did a TV show on it. Not much going on there. I just want to point out, like with UFO stuff, most of it's nothing. There are lots of UFOs, but it just means unidentified flying objects. There's loads of them.
Yeah, you can't explain it. Yeah.
Now, I did skip over a lot of stuff. When she was running the ghost tour, and we had the paranormal team, she was approached by a little aquarium, Georgia Aquarium, had contacted her when they had just started. They had the Titanic exhibit. And they had all kinds of unexplained activity happening to people that were, visitors to the aquarium and to their employees. So they had contacted Diana. We got to investigate that place several times at night. First time was, full security detail. Hey, you can't go here. You can't go here. By night 3, they were just like, the guard will let you out when you leave. So we got the free reign of that place. And it's amazing when it's crowded, but it's even more amazing at night when you're the only ones there. And as it turns out, when a good friend of ours is, we know most of the people on the paranormal shows, but Jay and Grant from Ghost Hunters had called. Oh, I'll let you tell that because.
Well, I mean, so we do have close personal relationships as being speakers on the same circuits, and so Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters was a friend of ours, and so we just happened to be chatting. We never would talk shop. It was just, personal stuff. We would vacation together. It was just nothing shop. But this particular time, I said, "Hey, the Georgia Aquarium, had us come out and we investigated the Titanic exhibit, and they said that the museums that would hold, because it was a traveling exhibit, so the museums that would hold it before had the same, weirdly, experiences, and I bet your viewers would love to see this. Would you like to? I could hook you guys up." So that's how that ever came to be. And it never occurred to me that we would be on the episode, but he actually asked us to be on the episode, and so that happened.
2 episodes.
Cool.
Aether's Plantation.
Well, it was 2 in 1.
Yeah.
There you go. So we got some bona fide ghost hunters with us, which is cool. Writers, actors, ghost hunters, producers. Is really cool. So back to the question, because I know this from comic book conventions and video game conventions, and Ron and I are about to rock your world because we got the best stories.
Yay!
So seriously, when you were at the ghost hunting conventions, do you have any great convention stories? Do you have any? And by the way, seriously, is everybody doing each other? Because it's the best, right? Comic conventions are a sex fest.
We would normally hear afterwards, yes.
Yep.
And it kind of.
Well, yeah, but okay, this doesn't. Well,
not. I mean, we would do brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. You can do that.
When we were at the stand,
what do you think? What do you think?
This was the magic marker incident in the Red Room.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
Okay. We were at the Stanley, and we were in Jason Hawes's room, which was this villa across from the hotel. The Stanley is historically significant because that's where Stephen King got his inspiration to do The Shining. So we were there for a convention.
It's legit haunted.
Yeah,
the actual hotel.
It's very active. But this was after everything, all of the investigations and conferences. We were hanging out at his place, and the manager of the Stanley was there with us, and he had all these bottles of red rum in honor of this convention. So a couple of bottles in.
What are you going to say?
Well, I'll be careful. A couple of bottles in, we started getting
elevation makes things really wonky too.
Right, and we started getting this idea of just drawing with magic markers all over everybody. And when you were awake or when you passed out. So it was I mean nothing. you know,
We would mark her on each other's faces. Yeah.
yeah, and other body parts as well.
Usual shenanigans. All right, Ron, let's rock the world. Jay, Sin, I know you guys go to conventions all the time, right? Quick things. What's your favorite, Jay? What's your favorite convention?
Oh, Dragon Con.
Yeah.
Dragon Con.
Minus the crowd and minus trying to get through a parade to a photo op. When your photo op is, 2 hours after the parade, or you leave 2 hours early for your photo op and make it maybe 2 minutes before because, there was a parade in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
like the local cons too. The flavor at a local con where you can stop and hang out and talk to people on a more individual basis. I don't like to sleep on the local cons.
Right. Sin, I know you like Dragon Con too. Is that your one?
Yeah, but I mean, I've been to a couple of Star Trek cons over the years, and there's been the after con tales that happen, and a lot of the folk singing and the yapping behind the scenes that happen.
So let's tell everybody
there are tales that cannot be told.
Tell everyone about Filking.
What part? I mean, the fact that it can go on for hours and that it ends up going that the next year that you have to add the next verse and
what it is. Filking.
Filking.
I don't know.
Filking is hard. Technically, I mean, it's like folk singing, but it has to be in the actual time elements of what Star Trek is. So if you're
so it's basically brave ships, Captain John Picard, right? And they sing songs about it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and it has to be about the character in question. My favorite time, I actually got to meet Marina Sirtis one year, and that ended up being an amazing con in general, meeting her. And there was a big after party. It happened to be at the hotel I bartended at. So a bunch of people were there and happened to be at the bar I was actually manager at, so I got to meet them afterwards. And so, of course, the Filking was at the bar. So it was like, okay, people, you can stay, you can have a great time. Just please don't get up. No, they were there past closing. No more alcohol at this time. It was like 4 a.m.
Let's kick us off then, right? Because I know that Ron and I are probably going to be able to outdo each other here. So let me tell you my science fiction. I was actually doing a signing one time. This is just a light one compared to some of the crazy ones you're about to hear, because I'm going to guess that Ron Mars has some crazy stories. If you want to have the most fun in the world, right, sit next to comic book pros and ask them about the craziest shit that's ever happened to them at a convention, because it is the funniest time you will ever. You ever see the episode of Seinfeld where they said, hey, if you ever want to have a fun time at parties, if you're a proctologist and their stories are really good?
Yeah.
If you ever want to hear a convention story, sit with comic book people, because it is the craziest thing in the world, right? I was doing a signing one time, and I had this guy come up, and he was a Klingon, right? And he's in the whole gear, and he comes up and he thumps his chest and he says, Mr. Jenkins, we of the Klingon Empire, whatever, we respect you even though you're human, right? Because he was in character, and a lot of them won't go they won't get out of character. And I'm like, cool, man. I sort of looked around and I went, don't tell anyone, but I'm one of you. I'm a spy. And he says, good, then tonight you shall drink with us. We shall drink blood wine. So at a certain point, I figured this is going to be great. And so I went drinking with these guys, and he had this stuff called blood wine, which is apparently in the Star Trek universe.
Yes.
And he made his own. I don't know if there is a recipe, but his recipe included vodka and meat. I'm not kidding you. He put beef and I'm like eating, drinking this thing, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life. So we all got plowed, and I'm feeling a bit queasy. And then we went to Klingon karaoke, and they sing Klingon karaoke. And my favorite thing I've ever done at any convention is 2 o'clock in the morning watching this guy plowed out of his mind singing, I touch myself, I want you to touch, and he's touching his nipples and singing it like this, and he's singing it all in Klingon. And I sat there watching this, and I'm like, I have arrived. This is the greatest thing ever. All right, Ron, I've set the bar kind of low so far. What you got?
We'll go with what's called I Like Tor.
I like Tor.
I Like Tor. So this is a few years ago. I was in Cape Town, South Africa, at a convention. Not a huge one, but very enthusiastic crowd. And this is on the last day of the show when they're having the costume contest over in another part of the room. And so I'm at my table. Most of the crowd is over at the costume contest. And this guy comes up, and he's sort of, older guy, fairly tall, like 6.5 feet tall, kind of a hawk nose, scraggly hair. And he comes up to the table, and he's looking at the stuff that I've got on the table, and he looks up at me and he goes, I like Tor. Okay. I like Tor with long hair. Oh, you like Thor? Yes. I like Thor too. I actually wrote Thor for a couple of years for Marvel, and I talked to him a little bit. And then he says, I like Thor's hammer. Okay. So we proceed to have what is essentially a 5-minute conversation, but it takes 25 minutes because he was the worst stutterer that I had ever been in the presence of.
Oh, gosh.
And when he stuttered, he would tap his nose. That was like his tick.
Look at this. Oh, there's Tor.
I like Tor too.
I like Tor.
I like Tor.
So he's he would get these questions out, and he would stutter, and it would take a while, and it would be, sometimes the question would take 5 minutes. But I'm figuring, well, there's nobody else here. Everybody's at the costume. I'm into the deep end of the pool. I might as well go with it.
Just go with it.
And he's obviously pretty pleased because I'm bearing with him, because I have to think that most people didn't. Like, most people would just not be able to deal with this for an extended period of time. So it wasn't as much of a conversation as it was, he was going down a checklist of things that he had memorized to ask me.
Oh, wow.
So he asked about writing comics, and he asked, had I ever met Stan Lee? Well, yeah, I've met Stan Lee. And so this goes on and on for like literally half an hour. And he gets his last answer, and he looks around, and he doesn't quite know what to do. And I realized that he has never really gotten to the end of a conversation, so he didn't know how to end one. So as he looks around, trying to decide what to do, he goes, I like Tor. Yep, I do too. I like Tor with long hair.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We went through the whole thing again.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
He had memorized the questions and didn't know how to stop a conversation, so we just did it all over again.
Oh, bless him.
It can get funky. We used to have a situation, Ron, I don't know if you know this one, but in comics, in Mid-Ohio-Con, there was this is relatively sinister actually, there was a guy that would come up and he would ask the female artists to draw him something. And he would begin by saying, well, could you please draw me Wonder Woman? And they would begin to, and he would say, Wonder Woman on a horse. And she has a she has a lasso around her neck and it's hanging her, and then he would start describing really weird sexual shit in the background and really, really scare people, and then they would kick him out of the convention and let him back in every year. So this guy would come back and back. That guy, do you remember that guy?
Have you heard of Glue Guy?
Probably, yes.
There was a guy known as Glue Guy. And since we're writers, we don't get the full brunt of this stuff because, you know, the artists get the guys to come to them and, you know, can you draw me a picture of Wonder Woman? Well, she doesn't have to be wearing the top. All right. Well, she doesn't have to be wearing the bottom either. She could, you know, it's okay if she's bending over. It's okay if she's covered in glue. What? Yeah, you know, like Elmer's glue.
Very specific.
All right.
This guy was infamous for a while, and you know,
Oh, I bet he was.
so you could the guys that really needed to make a buck who would go, all right, I'll draw you Wonder Woman covered in glue, and the other guys who would go, I don't think so. I think this is not a transaction that's going to happen.
He sounds like the guy that I used to get phone calls from when I worked 411. Hi, I'm so embarrassed. I'm looking for in Los Angeles, California. Oh God, this is so embarrassing. A sex toy shop. Gosh, you have such a great voice. Do you have any recommendations? So, what are you doing like later? I mean, it got bad, and he would go from the different operators. Finally, it's like he'd get started, and I'd be like, "Hey, guess what? I have your phone number, and I have the police department on the other line. Hold on, I'll connect you."
Always a fun time. Jay, have you had any like mad encounters at shows or anything like that? Because we could go on this all night, right?
Yeah. Are we leaving out celebrity names?
No, we
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We had there was a cosplay strip show after the con, and I was on the front row. We opened for him. You know, the improv group opened for him, and I had Curtis Armstrong, Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, on one side of me, and Osric Chow, the Atom from the CW, on the other side, and we're throwing dollar bills at a stripper dressed like Morticia from the Addams Family. And for whatever reason, you know, these two, you know, recognizable people are on either side of me, and Osric's a beefcake, but she comes down and sticks roses down my throat for some reason.
Oh.
And then after the show, I met her. I was like, "Do you need these back?" She's like, "No, no, you can keep those. You can keep those."
Yeah.
So that was one of my most epic moments, getting to hang out with those guys and toss dollar bills, and then I was feeling Bon Jovi. I want to lay you down in a bed of roses and steps.
So we have, you know, we encounter people all the time, and we deal with like celebrities all the time. We deal, you know, there's this kind of weird thing about the green room. Depending on which convention you go to, comic book people will go in, and sometimes they'll go like, "Come on in," you know, you're with it. And other times you'll walk in and the bouncers will stop you from coming in because, you know, Lou Ferrigno's in there. Hey, Ron, have you run into Lou Ferrigno?
Yeah, we have several times.
Yeah.
Lou practically lives at conventions. I mean, I did a number of shows. I did a lot of shows last year because I got a lot of really great invitations to international stuff.
Wow.
And you know, like half of the shows, Lou was there. Lou is ubiquitous. I think I got to eat at the same table with Lou Ferrigno, Carl Weathers, and Jimmy Walker.
There you go. Diana, you've seen Lou at shows of yours?
Yeah, every Dragon Con.
Dragon Con will be there. Yeah, that's true.
I've actually thought about those guys because you see, you know, if you do enough shows, you see a lot of the celebrities over and over again because that's what they do. That's their gig. And the fact that shows are just not happening, period. I mean, I think they're probably going through a pretty rough patch. You know, it's if you're, particularly artists can make good money at conventions doing sketches and selling originals and stuff like that. You know, for writers like me and Paul, it's a little bit of a different thing. You know, you can get an appearance fee, sell some stuff at the table, so it's not a huge windfall, but it's you know, you can make a couple of decent bucks. But for artists and for the celebrities that are selling their autograph, this has got to be a really really rough patch, particularly because you don't know when it's going to, you know, you don't know when it's going to start up again. You don't know if you're talking 2 months, 3 months. I mean, I've had 3 shows canceled out from under me, or postponed, which is to be expected, but and with more to follow, I would think, because I don't think this is going to end for a while.
No, I don't think it's going to end for a while. I feel really bad for the people that are losing their livelihood. I will say that there's a guy who comes to a lot of conventions, and he used to be Mike TV on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yeah.
And that guy is at every show, and I feel so badly for him because he's like a psychic wasteland. You sit out there and you watch a guy, and there's all these celebrities, and then there's the line. There's a line for some of these people, and then there's the guy and he's got a sign that says, "I was Mike TV in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory," and there's no one wants to make eye contact.
No one.
They don't want to go down and talk to the guy, and he's just sitting there very calmly, very quietly, waiting for someone to come up and talk to him.
It's a grim little tableau. And you see that, you know, you see that it's kind of,
it's a little cringe making.
Yeah. Although I was in Saudi Arabia last fall, and that was the reception for virtually everybody. Like, because they and it was, you know, they did a really nice show. They did a really nice show for us and treated us great. But because it was the first real show in Saudi Arabia, like, nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew how it worked. I mean, the attendees, the people that, you know, were paying to show up. So they had a really pretty stellar, pretty large guest list, but the vast majority of the people had no idea who they were.
Right.
You know, so like Shatner was there, and you know, people were not falling all over themselves to meet these celebrities, because to them they weren't celebrities. It was just a guy behind a table. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, we you know, it depends on your level of celebrity and all that. Like, you know, who cares, right? But I remember for a while, all of the Star Wars guys, because they're in weird situations. The Star Wars guys, they've been in Star Wars, but they've been like Wookiee number 6, right? So it's kind of like debatable as to whether or not they're actually relevant, to be fair. And we were in a sports bar. So in Chicago Comic Convention, for many, many years, there used to be this sports bar called Knuckles.
Knuckles, it's still there.
We used to call it Fisters. It was awful. It was a mess, right? This place. And so at the end of the night, what's really cool is comic book pros are always like, yeah, let's just go drink with the fans. Like, no one cares, right? No one's got, well, some people have got airs and graces, but most of us just go drinking in the bar. And we had like a really cool kind of vibe this one year. The year before, it had been Beatles Fest, and all of the comic book people were all really surprised that they were harder. They were like badasses compared to the Beatles fan. So now the comic book people are walking around like intimidating the Beatles fans who are sitting around in circles singing like Kumbaya, right? And so I thought, well, this is a pretty good dynamic. And then the second year, the Beatles Fest came again, but there was also a festival of people.
Indian Bridal Convention.
Say again?
Indian Bridal Convention.
No, the festival of people from Ramallah, Palestine, right? This was a year when all the people from Ramallah came. And so now the comic book fans are terrified because as far as they're concerned, everyone from Palestine is probably going to kill them. Right? And my great-grandfather is buried in Ramallah. And so I made friends with them in about a minute, and they're like, "You're one of us." And well, we would drink and we sort of hang out and dance and, you know, basically get surveyed by the CIA, right? I figured I was on about 9 watch lists now that I made friends with everybody. And so that year, Sir Alec Guinness dies, right? So you got Beatles Fest, you got Ramallah Palestine, and now Sir Alec Guinness dies. So we go into Fista's one night, we're all drinking, and everybody's plowed out their mind, there's music playing, and you're like this, trying to drink. And Michael Turner and I were playing pool all night, and so we're just running the table and hanging out. And the news comes in, Sir Alec Guinness has died. And all of the Star Wars people are all really upset. Except it's kind of like, dude, you didn't know Sir Alec Guinness, right? You happened to be in Star Wars, and so was he. You know, you were like Ewok number 3, right? So in the middle of this thing, they start tapping a glass, and they're going, a moment of silence, please. A moment of silence, please. Everybody show some respect. And, of course, everybody's drinking. No one gives a shit. And so they go, a moment of silence. And so someone goes and takes the jukebox and pulls it out. And at that point, everything kind of goes quiet a little bit, and they're yelling now, like, please show some respect, show some respect. So now everything goes quiet. Finally, it goes quiet. And some guy stands up, and this guy's like nobody. And he goes, we should now all pay respects. A genius among us has died, a great friend of ours, Sir Alec Guinness. So please, a moment of silence for Sir Alec Guinness. And just at that moment, there was an old guy sitting at a table, and he lost his balance, right? And he had 1 million bottles on his table, and he goes flying backwards, and he just crashes. And it's literally the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. So everybody goes, like, there's this guy. And at that very moment, I went, well then, to Sir Alec.
So were you ever there when they had Wizard World, they had the Beatles convention going on, and they had
the Indian wedding, yeah.
Bridal convention.
Bridal convention. I remember that. Great.
So it was the comic nerds and the Beatles nerds and these Southeast Asian gorgeous women that the nerds were just entranced by the whole weekend. Like, and of course, like completely too scared to talk to any of them, but just gaped at them. Like I remember being on the escalator, and these lovely young Indian women were coming down the escalator, and it was like all the nerds just stopped and watched as they came down.
They don't know what to do. It's brilliant. Like, I love it because
I couldn't help it.
Yeah,
I do.
I went up to one. I said, "You want to get naked and roll around in some glue?"
And you're a glue guy?
Yeah. It was some sticky situations.
Oh, hiding in the tall bushes for that one, were you?
Oh,
I remember one year the Beatles people were all around the lobby of the Hilton in like little groups with acoustic guitars, and all, half of them singing Blackbird, and just a lot of different little musical groups. And I remember somebody from one of the comic pros, and I don't remember who it was, but I remember that it had this huge like open atrium in that hotel. All of the hallways were exterior hallways. And this is like after Knuckles is closed, it's like 3 a.m, but these people are still milling about and playing music and stuff like that. And I remember like up on the 5th or 6th floor of the open atrium, somebody throws open their door, comes to the edge of this big vaulted space, and yells, "Everybody shut the fuck up." And it just echoes through the whole chamber. He walked back in and slammed his door.
That's great.
Or something else.
Did it work?
Oh no! Everybody just went right back to doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
Dragon Con Atlanta had to share it with the Alabama football fans.
Every
Share the
year,
city,
man.
So you go. Let me touch on that for a second, Jay, because Ron, I don't know. Can you come down to Dragon Con, Ron?
I have not. I was invited this year, but I guess who knows? That might be a moot point at this point.
If it happens, you got to come down, man, because you mentioned. So you guys, Jay, Sin, Diana, you guys are real experts at this. This is the time, right? This is the best time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my birthday weekend, dude. It's like the best.
So one thing that I am always amazed, and it is brilliant, is that they always have the college football playoffs the same weekend. No, it's the very first day of the college
First
football.
day of the football season, yeah.
And this is true. This is dead true. They'll come into town, and it's kind of like the Sharks and the Jets, right? So at one end, you got college football. At the other end of town where the football stadium is. And at one end, you've got con, and in the middle of it, you got, I believe, Black Gay Pride. Is that, or is it?
Usually, yes.
Yeah, usually Gay Pride. March isn't that?
And then, depending on the year, you also have the Christian Association, the Baptist Christian Association, also going on that weekend.
Okay. Right. Exactly. So you've got all these things, these colliding forces, and it's brilliant because the football fans will kind of wander downtown and they'll kind of walk down and they'll suddenly find themselves in the middle of Dragon Con and go like, what the fuck is going on? Right? They have no idea.
Right.
I've literally sat there and listened to two people from West Virginia, and one of them kind of looked at the other. They have West Virginia Mountaineer shirts on, and they look like, man, the big city's a bit weird, isn't it? Because they were
one year, this is maybe 3 years ago. I've been going for like 8 years, or maybe more, like 10. But one year, I saw all these Asian stewardesses, and they were trying to check into the hotel, and they were with their cameras just going. I don't think they knew what was happening that weekend at all, and that's hysterical to me.
Yeah,
people that just stumble upon it, like, what is happening?
It's brilliant. It is the most fun. And by the way, and it should be pointed out that some of the costuming is beyond comprehension. Some of it is so brilliant, so amazing. We're going to get into this in a bit, but I'm going to kind of run through some of this because I believe I can bring some of this up. I may or may not be able to bring this up. We'll give it a shot in a minute. It's like I'm gonna bring up, say, one of them, right, and I'll link it. Let's see, open link, open imaging. Now I think we've got it. All right, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Check this out. This is all part of my incredible
technology skills.
Check this out. Technology rules. How are we looking? Right?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Nicely done.
Look at these people.
Pretty indicative. Yes.
And literally, Ron, because you've never been here before, it's basically 30,000 people dressed in various versions of that. It's incredible.
5 hotels of your closest family, friends, and more.
I was at I believe the second one when I very first started. I was a kid, and I started working with Ninja Turtles, and they invited me and Kevin Eastman down. And I kid you not, they literally put us halfway up a set of stairs, in a hotel. You went up the first thing, and halfway up the stairs, they put me and Kevin Eastman, and we sat there.
We were at a table. They put you there.
It was brilliant. We loved it. People would just come past us, and they would go, "How you doing?" And we'd be like, "Great." And they were like, "You did Ninja Turtles, guys!" And so they got really mad because the steps kept getting filled up with people. Duh.
Uh-huh.
And then people would run in and yell at the poor people that were just stopping to talk to us. Don't talk to them. So we thought this was brilliant, Kevin and I, because we were like, literally the whole point of us being at the convention was to stop traffic, piss off the bouncers, get told off, have them yell at the people. And every time someone stopped to talk to us, they would get yelled at and moved on. And we were like, why are we here? It was brilliant. And that was, by the way, my first exposure to Dungeons and Dragons. A fan asked me, would you be willing to play Dungeons & Dragons with Mr. Jenkins? I'm like, why not? And I played Dungeons & Dragons until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh
It was
That's
great.
awesome.
It was
I've
great.
never played.
He still hasn't played, dude.
I've never played.
Jay, you are missing out, dude.
Can I come over and play one day?
We should do it. Well, you can't come over. No, fuck off.
Not yet.
Someday.
We got to do an online session is what we need to do.
We'll play Dungeons & Dragons. All right, so here's what we're going to do then, because this is our fun time. So I want to talk about this. We're going to link us up. You guys will enjoy this. We're about to play a little game that we started the other day. I love cosplayers because I think cosplayers are like the salt of the earth, right? I think cosplayers are like the best people. but it doesn't always go well. So let's take a look. We'll see if I can find them now. Yeah, here we go. All right. By the way, what we're looking at right now, this is something for earlier, but this, by the way, do you know what this is? Anybody? Little warm-up trivia for you. Do you know what this thing is that they're sitting in?
No.
A bunker?
Yeah, kind of. But do you know what? Have you ever heard of an Anderson shelter?
Yeah.
Anderson shelter.
So in the Second World War, you know, my mum was in the Blitz and my grandparents were, and I was going to talk about this today, but who cares? We're past it now. You know, we're all sequestered at home, but I think that this too shall pass. You know, I know that we'll all be at home. I know it's a hard time, but it's not like we're getting bombs dropped on us every day. And my parents and my grandparents, they were all bombed. And so you would basically fold over, it was named after a guy called Anderson, and you would fold over 2 pieces of corrugated iron, right? And you'd attach them at the top, and a house could fall on this thing. And so, people would survive. So basically, when the Luftwaffe would come over, or the V1 rockets or whatever, you would just run to the Anderson shelter, and then the bombs would go off around you, and you'd sit out there playing cards. And I just thought it was worth showing everybody that, you know, this is not the first time in human history that we've been through this, right? Anyway, just a little pep talk. So, conventions, right? Look at the cosplay. This is like an example of amazingness. True? Like, right here. Love it. And I love the sense of community. This is Dragon Con. This is a picture that I took there. Look at all these people just hanging out, being awesome, loving life. They're all dressed up, and just the one thing that you see at Dragon Con is people smile all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I feel is really frustrating is if you go to San Diego, people never smile.
Really?
I feel that San Diego Comic-Con has really fallen away from what it should be.
Really?
In fact, a few years ago, a friend of mine, look, here we go. Hang on. Look who's come to join us. Hello, Jill.
Hi, sorry, I'm silly and can't tell time from Eastern to Central.
Yeah, Jill's been texting me. Look, let everybody say hi to the amazing Jill Thompson. There she is.
Hello, Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Hello, Jill.
Studio bit, glasses.
There you go. So Jill is by far one of my favorite people in the world. And in fact, Jill was very much an inspiration for this idea because we chatted the other day and we were all talking about like getting stuck indoors and all that. And so the idea of connecting fans to artists and creators was largely inspired in part by this. And Jill, you missed out a bunch of stuff. But
I'm watching about the Dragon Con, and I can agree with you that everyone smiles there all the time.
Yeah. And I don't think that they smile as much at San Diego Comic-Con. I think it's just this big.
Well, I think it's more of an ordeal. You know, San Diego is more of an ordeal that you have to survive. I think both sides of the table, no matter who it is, because there's so many people, and it's
so many lines,
so pressurized. You know,
right.
And I've been going to San Diego since '92 or '93, something like that. So I've seen what it's turned into, and it's the sort of thing that everybody should see once in their life if they're into it. But it's work, and I think New York same way. Really, it's work, but it sounds like Dragon Con is not. It seems like it's not as intense.
Dragon Con is so much fun. San Diego, I was there a few years ago, and a friend of mine was standing near me, and I said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you a bet of $1. For 3 minutes, we're going to walk around. I bet you don't see a single person smiling. 3 minutes is a long time. A long time. Just ask a boxer, right? It's a long time."
Yeah.
And so we walked around for 3 minutes, didn't see a single person smiling. Not a vendor, not a fan. Nobody was smiling. Everybody was like Song of the Volga. They were paraded around, and it's a miserable ordeal. Not that there's any fault of the organizers, I feel, or anything like that. It's just it's it's a fuck fest. I hate it. Anyway,
it's a monster at this point. I think the first time I was there, the other side of the railroad tracks in San Diego was literally the other side of the tracks.
Yeah,
like there was a Mexican restaurant on the corner there, and then if you ventured further up the street, it's a Navy town. So it was all like tattoo parlors, liquor stores, porn shops, sketchy motels. So like if you went past the Mexican restaurant, you were asking for trouble. And
you'd all go to Tijuana as well. Like I remember going to Tijuana with Matt Hollingsworth, who used to color Hellblazer for us. And Hollingsworth and we'd sort of drink a little bit. And one night in Tijuana, we lost him. And we were like, oh my God, where did Hollingsworth go? Right? And
supposed to lose your colors? I mean,
it was Matt, right? And so we're like, we got to go, man. We got to go home. And he's just gone. So we go back and we come back into San Diego and we're walking back towards the hotel. And there's a bush and there's a pair of feet sticking out from underneath the bush. And I went, I guarantee that's Hollingsworth. And we walk up and it was Matt Hollingsworth. He was passed out in a bush. So before we continue, Jill, unfortunately, you haven't run the gauntlet yet. So we're going to make Jill run the gauntlet for 1 second before we move.
Okay.
All right. So we need to show a few pictures. Everybody got to meet each other. Jill, tell us about this photo. This is you.
Yes, this is me. I chose this particular photo only because it wasn't until I found this photo in one of my mother's drawers. There are not very many pictures that my brother and I have from when we were growing up. There's very few. It's not like today where everyone's taking a picture. My dad had one of those. Had one of those cameras where you put the film in the back of it, and then you pulled the accordion thing out, and then took a picture, and then had to wait and time it, and then pull some paper apart, and then that would be developed on it. When things finally moved on to a regular camera that you put like a little canister of film in, it had one of those cubes on top of it, the flash cubes that you had to flip to make sure you had a flash. That seemed so much easier. So I at one point found that, and I thought that was a really great picture because it's kind of the exasperated face of a freelancer all the time. I'm like, oh no.
And then this is what you became, right? Here's you.
It occurred to me I had posed for Craig Russell for one of his operas, and I was the queen of the night, and he had me do one of these deals, and then I came across that picture, and my mom, well after it, I hadn't even known that one existed, and it cracked me up because I thought it's the same, it's the same exact thing.
So unbeknownst to Jill, I've also found a couple of pictures that I stalked you on the internet.
Yay!
Oh my God, I hope they're good pictures.
They are good pictures, actually, because Jill is a gorgeous human being. Here's one of you. This is apparently 1990. Short hair, by the way.
That was like behind me. You'll see that that was probably right while I was doing the first comics adaptation of The Scarlet Letter. So that's probably 1990.
It is 1990, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that may have been Mid-Ohio-Con.
Yeah.
It looks like Mid-Ohio-Con.
It does look like Mid-Ohio-Con. And by the way, Jill, I was just telling everybody, and I think you have firsthand knowledge of this. In Mid-Ohio-Con, I remember actually you being very grateful to me one time because there was this lunatic that would come up and get the women to draw really creepy pictures. Do you remember this guy? This guy came up and he basically was at your table and he had asked you to draw a picture and it was really creepy. He started off by saying, hey, can you draw Wonder Woman? And then can you take her clothes off and can you have her doing this? And you were like, what is going on, right? It was madness. Do you remember that guy?
I don't remember that guy. I remember other guys who've asked for other creepy things. And at some point my skin got a lot thicker for that kind of a thing. Like I never would draw salacious stuff, but I would get what they wanted, and I would try and draw it in like a demure pinup style way. So technically I was drawing the thing they wanted, but they wouldn't get the payoff of nakedness, right? It was always like, ooh, or, you know, like, ooh, you know, like covering themselves up somehow, which maybe made it better. But at some point there were certain people that would come up and ask for really weird stuff, and they would ask, you know, everybody to do things like that. And eventually this is how I start out conversations at certain conventions when I'm trying to meet new people. I'll ask other artists, what's the creepiest thing you've ever been asked to draw? But because now I think all of that stuff just goes on DeviantArt and no one has to ask anybody in person. But back in the day, if you wanted your weird fetish realized for you, you had to walk up to a person and ask them to their face. And I think that takes a lot of courage, actually.
And describe it in detail.
Yeah, I used to think that what was going on was that they didn't care about the picture. They wanted to make the women draw it. That was why I thought it was creepy. They wanted to kind of control you to make you do a thing, and that was like really creepy, right?
I mean, you can tell the difference, I think. I mean, I remember the very first time I was asked to draw a drawing like that. Now, I had been going to conventions from the time I was 13 years old, and technically grew up at conventions where I was the only girl there, except for maybe like some retailers' wives or maybe a random girlfriend here or there. But I made friends with the artists Bill Reinholdt and Mitch O'Connell and Bill Willingham, and when they were at the local tiny Chicago Comic-Cons, I would sit with them, you know, watch them draw. But then I would also, eventually, I started to go to art school, and I would sit and set my own table up. They would let me share like a spot with them, and I would draw. And fans would come up to me and ask me to draw things, and I think I was drawing sketches for like $10. And I have no idea, because this was well before the internet, but they would ask me to draw things like some of the characters from the not the Justice League, Legion of Superheroes, and other things like that. And then at some point, one of these fans asked me, and I got no idea how they knew, but they seemed to know how old I was, and they were keeping track of how old I was. Because he asked me, Jill, am I correct in understanding that you are now 18 years old? And I said, yeah. And I said, okay, well, I was wondering now, and you can say no if you're uncomfortable by this, but I was wondering if you could do me a sketch of Shrinking Violet, who she's you understand her power? Yes, she can shrink and stuff, and they're a space-based hero group. So in this scenario, Violet goes. She's on a mission, and she goes through a space cloud of cosmic rays. And the next time she is in a position to use her superpowers, she shrinks down. But and I like. She shrinks, but her costume doesn't, right?
Her clothes fall off. Oh.
Right, you know. And he was like, yes, yeah, exactly. Because I understand if you don't want to draw that. And I was like, no, that's okay. I can draw that for you. So what I ended up doing was, there was a big pile of clothing on the ground. She's behind it, but she's doing one of Betty Page, you know, like sideways poses where her hands are like here, and she's like, oh my goodness, kind of a thing. You don't see anything at all, but she's clearly nude, and but very modest, which may have heightened the experience for that person. I don't know, but I found it to be really weird. And all the guys that I was sitting with were kind of like chiding me, or like, oh my God, that's so bizarre. Or what a creep. But the fact that before the internet, he somehow knew how old I was.
That's a little shock. And by the way, I'm really glad that we
Wow.
were able here to find the actual picture of you drawing that. Here's another one, Jill. We'll get through this one just so that I can don't know. This is a picture of you. It is you. It doesn't it looks like you and doesn't. But there's the
That's me when I was working on Sandman because I have braces.
Braces, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
My
There you
hair's
go.
a lot more vibrant back then, so that was probably like 91.
91.
That's awesome.
Okay.
91, 92 maybe.
Working on Sandman. So you had this amazing stuff. So anyway, welcome to the chat. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We were doing this crazy thing. So everybody gets to join in now. This is the madness, right? So because I've been learning how to share the screen and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm all excited. I'm very happy with myself. Here's where we were, Jill, when you came in. We were talking about cosplay. And we were talking about the community, and I really love it, right? I love the way that people are. Look at all these happy people at Dragon Con. You can't say anything against it, right? I love it.
But they're so talented.
They're so talented, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is even the sentry in the middle there. I'm loving. Well done, mate. Now, there's a picture I took a few years ago. This is literally probably 20 years old, a baby Yoda. And I'm like, hey, we've been there, right?
Yeah.
Aww.
All right, so here's where we're going to go with this video, with this little thing that we're doing. Diana, I'm gonna get you first, okay? This is bad cosplay, and can you guess who they're supposed to be?
Oh boy,
This is not going to be fun.
I kind of like bad cosplay.
Diana, no,
Bad
this is fine. No, I'm not saying this is. I'm saying here's where we go. Okay. Oh, by the way, no, before I get there, so a few years ago, many years ago, I used to play a thing called Klingon hunting, and it was basically taking great photos of cosplay people that didn't quite have it going on. And this is Mark Silvestri's wife, Bridget, when we were working at Top Cow. And she thought this was the funniest thing in the world. She's a model. She's a lingerie model.
Really?
And so she would run and she would go and find me Klingons to pose with. So this guy would be walking by and she'd go, look at that one, Paul. Paul, I got to go get that one. And she'd run over and flirt with this guy. This guy's never had human contact in his life, and now he's standing next to me. It's like my favorite photo of all time, right? Like,
he's like, star.
And by the way, this is me at convention with my oldest
Aww.
when he was a little guy. He was the big bad wolf.
Aww.
And
Which one are you in the photo, Paul?
yeah, I'm the guy on the right. He's the big bad wolf, so he's got fur all over his arms, and he's meeting this wizard for the first time. And you know, the wizard is that's his first convention, and then my youngest. This is
Everyone's wearing gray in that picture.
yeah. By the way, this is like random. This is like Boomerang Girl. Not sure what that was going on right there.
That is from Naruto. She is from the village of the sand.
That's right. So you're disqualified from playing. That was what that was about. Clearly not. So Diana, this is on you. Who's the cosplay on the left? Who's that dude?
That's sorry, that's Pajamas Thanos.
Jill,
Yeah.
Diana. That was one for Diana, Jill. You literally, that's a faux pas right there. Like I was letting Diana have a go. Yeah. No, yes, you're right. So Jill gets a point. And then one demerit point for jumping in. Yes, in fact, this guy is apparently this guy.
He's living his best life.
Living his best life.
Having the best time ever.
How do you know that it's not a Thanos bouncing boy mashup?
It could be.
Ooh, good question.
Maybe he's a little more clever than you give him credit for, Paul.
I'm not giving him enough credit, am I? All right,
He's got the reality stone, so it's possible.
let's try another one. Jay, you are clearly disqualified from this game. We're going to let Diana have a go. Okay, Diana, we'll let you have this one.
Is that Captain Planet?
Say again?
Is it Captain Planet?
It is. Well done. Points.
I have 3 boys.
It's duct tape Captain Planet.
It's duct tape.
Yeah.
I like
This is who he is, and I love it. That is a great Captain Planet right there.
Go
All right.
Captain Planet.
Sin,
His
well,
muscles, though, the part I like the best is his muscles that have been added have kind of slumped down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just,
Like
Okay,
his
yeah.
two big
and I like
potatoes.
his, you know, the.
He's Captain Climate Change.
Yeah. He's like everything's melting. Yeah.
And
All right. Here we go with. Let's see. Sin. Have you got this one?
It's a Pokemon, yeah, and it's supposed to be like Eevee, but it's just.
Your clue. If you know the Pokemon, your clue's on the right foot down there.
Yeah, I know, but it's like so bad. It's why he's so tall.
All right, Jay, you're looking very smug and satisfied with yourself.
He's not allowed to play. He plays Pokemon.
Ron, let's throw it to you. You know who that is? Which one that is?
Yes, that's the yellow one.
Yeah, well done, Ron. Thanks for your
Are
contribution.
there a few yellow ones?
Jill, what you got?
Oh, I think it's like a furry werewolf version of a Pokemon. I don't know the names of Pokemon. I'm sorry to say. I don't Pokemon Go. I don't do any of those online games either.
Isn't it Raichu, the evolved version of Pikachu?
It is Jolteon, you nerds.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Well, it's in the lightning family.
It's a lightning one.
Enough.
But just so that we're clear, like this is Jolteon.
You had it queued up.
That's not Jolteon. Okay.
No, that's just
broken.
Yeah.
So how did they decide like who gets the front and who gets the back?
There might be one person, Ron. I think that might be an attempt at one person.
I need
Are
that.
they on stilts?
I need that to be two people.
No,
It's one person. I think they got stilts right here.
Yeah, there's stilts.
It's much creepier if you're convinced that that's two people.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, here we go. Assuming it shows up for us. Oh, who's this?
That's Paul Jenkins.
That would be Captain Picard.
Well, you're wrong, nerds. Actually, it was me as Captain April. So
I was right.
Anything. By the way, so we're shooting a thing. We've been shooting a project called Warp. This is me literally sitting on the bridge with a bra on my head. And the joke of the Kirk was that William Shatner got really fat, and so he would wear this body shaper. So ours is visible at all times. Like this captain's body wear is always visible. All right, let's move on. This one.
Oh, what?
Nailed it.
That would be the Jabba the Hutt episode.
Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, this was intended to be this.
It looks more like Jabba the Potato.
Yeah. I mean,
I just thought he was Dookie the Hutt.
Yeah. It looks like a very Mr. Hanky the Hutt.
Howdy ho!
It's spectacular. That's one of my.
Wait, just because she has a
He's
tiara
in a
on,
Snuggie, dude. He's in a Snuggie.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Okay, moving along. Here's a little bit more for your delight and edification, everybody. I'm
so scared. I am so scared.
Great. Oh my God, those are the best.
Wow. That's phoning it in.
So in 3rd grade, my mom made me a Jawa costume, and I got taken around the whole entire school for like hours. This is not that time.
Let's attempt to choose.
This is scary, but yeah, they're supposed to be these people. So
yeah.
This one is good.
I've seen that guy.
Iron Man?
Who just said I've seen that guy? Jill, have you seen that guy?
Yeah, I swear I've seen that one. And
Which convention is this? It looks like, a small convention.
But that doesn't mean. That doesn't mean that he hasn't put this together more than once.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I would be surprised if you could take it apart and then put it back together again, to be honest.
It looks like it's a repeat offender.
But it looks like buy it. You could buy those supplies all over again pretty easily.
You could. So yes, this guy is supposed to be this guy. I love it. I'm just so impressed that this guy went out that way.
The face mask is just like impressive.
That is true.
Inferior alloy man.
That's right.
What is that on his back?
It's a shell. I love him. I love this guy. I'm really impressed. Yes, this is Raphael, the Ninja Turtle in the flesh, right there.
Oh God.
The best of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference of the turtles.
Raphael, clearly the coolest.
Yeah, Jill, you go wash your mouth out with soap right now. You don't know that.
Sorry.
Although, if we're going by the original run, when they all had red masks, he could be any of them.
True enough. The comic run.
Bingo.
All right, by the way, look at that, right? Look at that. This is bad cosplay. This is literally what they sell kids.
Yep.
That's
So-
also bad.
And that's just as bad. That's creepy.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen. Okay. How about this one? Let's Diana, what you got? Do you know one?
Julie, can you help me? I'm asking my 17-year-old to help me.
That's Bubbles.
Is it Puff in the name?
Yeah.
Powerpuff. Powerpuff Girls?
Not bad. Well done. And it is, yes, for more points, because you didn't hear the person that called in. Which one is this?
Oh, there's a particular one. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm stumped. I don't know.
Sin tried. Yeah, it's Bubbles.
Yeah.
There she is.
Oh.
She's like my favorite.
The nice one.
She's
This
the
is-
sweet one.
Right.
Until she gets angry, in which case you don't want to be around her.
Really? Okay.
Just so that we all know that we are not cracking on cosplay people. Just to be fair. So these are some beautiful friends of mine.
Oh,
Brian Williams and his group down in Central Georgia,
that's awesome.
near Augusta, and they go and they visit terminally ill children, and they bring a load of joy to these kids. So they walk in, they go in, they make their own costumes, they go in, they go around the hospital, and they take the kids' presents and they talk to them, and it is literally one of the coolest things. There's Wolverine, someone that I'm very close to.
Awesome.
Giving a high five to one of the children. I'm very close to Wolverine because that was me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was one of my favorite days I've ever had, and I'm going to do it again soon, Brian, if you're out there. It's so cool, like that we are lucky enough to have the job that we have, and so I got to kind of just hang out and go see these kids that were struggling, and I think that is something that like these people bring. It's amazing. There, by the way, is my little one. That was his first convention.
Oh.
No, he's not like that anymore. He's an angel right there. This is my other little one, the one that was, when he was really young. We took him around, and I did this thing to Nye Perfect because I'm terrible with her. I got Jack to pose with loads of pictures of pretty girls. So one day I'd go, look what you had the best dad in the world, Jack, and it was driving Melinda crazy, my wife. But this is where he finally ended up with 3 girls and a gun. He's like Captain Kickass. Right?
You live in the South.
Look at his expression. He's like,
Yeah.
"That's it, Dad. Well done, Dad." So, and then this is, of all the photos I've ever taken at conventions, this is literally my favorite cosplay photo. It was actually the idea of this kid in the wheelchair, and it's Batman kicking the kid in the wheelchair.
I was kicking him where he was doing that slap thing.
Oh my God.
Must be Ben Affleck, Batman.
It is Ben Affleck. Oh, well done. Yeah. It's like my favorite thing ever. Batman kicking a kid in a wheelchair.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
All right, so we will run out of this. It is cool. We've got an outro today as well, by the way. But
what? We have an outro?
Yeah, we even have an outro. I've been working on this working out, and I still haven't done all of my push-ups. So I've got the 2-minute outro when we finish today, where I do push-ups. to me.
Oh.
All right. So, Jill, we were all in the middle of telling stupid convention stories and funny, and
Yeah.
Ron's got a couple. Ron, I know you've got one with Brian Stelfreeze lined up, I believe.
Do you want to hear that one now?
So let's go. Let's do a few more stupid, because I've got the ultimate. I've got one that's like legendary in the industry. Jill, you have to have stupid convention stories. You're a comic pro. You're a comic pro.
Give me a couple minutes. You mean like, what are you talking about? Like, after
Well, listen to
parties?
No, just the craziest things that have happened to you at convention. So, Ron, go for it. Let's have a convention story, Ron, with Brian Stelfreeze.
All right. So this actually didn't take place at a convention. It was after Heroes Con, early '90s. At some point, we were left over from Sunday night. A bunch of us, Gaijin Studios guys, and it's probably 2 or 3 tables of us. And we went to it. There was no place open in town, because at that point there was no town really there. It was just, it was the hotel and the convention center and not much else going on. So a bunch of us piled into cars and we went to some place outside of town for lunch before everybody scattered. Everybody had to go to the airport or drive home or whatever. And so we walk in with a party of 15 or 20 people. They put us at 3 different tables at this fairly nice restaurant. And we're in the South, and it's not terribly well, mixed, shall we say. The only black guy with us is Brian. He's the only black guy in the entire place, and he's got his kufi on. And they sit us at a table, and I'm at the same table with Brian. And the waitress comes up and says, can I get you something to drink? And Brian had been looking at the menu, and she asked Brian if he wanted something to drink, and he didn't hear her. He was looking at the menu, and Brian's girlfriend, Steen, leans into him and says, what do you want to drink? Very quietly. And he answers her very quietly, and she looks up at the waitress and says, he'll have iced tea. Oh, okay. And she writes it down. And somehow the waitress got into her mind that because Brian was slightly exotic looking, that he didn't speak English. So as you all know, that when someone doesn't speak English, if you speak louder to them, it helps.
Oh God.
So
Oh, Brian.
she would come back to the table, and she would say, "Do you know what you want yet?" and Brian would like, and so he figured out that there was something going on, that this was just odd. So we decided to run with it. And every time she asked Brian something, Steen would translate to him.
Oh God.
She would lean in close and tell him something, and he would nod and then point, but he wouldn't say anything. So this goes on for quite some time.
Hey.
And Brian gets up, goes to the bathroom, and while Brian's in the bathroom, we tell the waitress that Brian is exiled African royalty.
Nice.
From the land of Obviously, this is before anyone knows what Wakanda is.
Hell yeah.
Oh, gosh, coming to America though.
So for the remainder of the meal, she believes that Brian is an African prince, brings in food. He does like this, doesn't say anything to her. And like, she's obviously told the rest of the wait staff, so they're kind of standing around looking at the African prince to see what actual African royalty looks like. And then we told them that Brian was really impressed with the food and the hospitality, and that if they could if they could make the special meal ending treat that is from Brian's homeland, it would really make him feel better about being exiled and give him a great sense of family. So we told her what that was, and she said, I think we can do that. That would be wonderful.
Sure.
And she goes away and comes back a few minutes later with what we have told her is the delicacy of Brian's homeland. And it is a cup of coffee with a banana in it. The banana is peeled and cut in half so that the two ends of it stick out of the coffee cup, like the tusks of the elephant.
Oh.
So she brings it and puts it down in front of him. And Brian goes, oh. And then Brian speaks gibberish for 2 minutes.
Oh my God, this is awful.
Brian can recite the spell of making from the John Borman movie Excalibur.
Wow.
So he gives them the spell of making, and then Steen translates and said, "You have made his heart sing like the birds of the forest."
Wow.
That's brilliant. Oh my
That is exceptional.
So when we left, the whole wait staff lined up and waved goodbye to the African prince.
Wow.
That's shocking. I love it. We had there was one time I was on a panel, and it was a big Marvel panel. There was loads of people sitting in the auditorium, about like 2,000 or 3,000 people in there at San Diego, and Eduardo Rizzo was up there. Not Eduardo Rizzo, a guy that didn't speak any English. I used to work with Brian Bendis on a couple of things, but I knew the guy a little bit, and so they were like, "Well, we don't know what he's going to say because no one could speak." The Croatian, who's the Croatian guy that Bendis would work with quite often? Good, nice dude.
Alex Malik?
No, not Malik.
Esad? No,
Yeah, Esad, really.
Esad,
right? Nice dude. I couldn't speak any English at the time.
Oh, okay, because he speaks English.
They asked, "Can anyone speak Croatian?" And I went, "Yeah, I can speak Croatian because I can't."
You did not.
And so Assad sits up next to me, and I go, "Okay." And so Assad says something, and I turned to the audience. I said, "Assad would like to thank you for being welcome to this country. He likes your women, bouncy, bouncy." Right? And the whole audience laughed. And apparently Assad had told a joke, so everyone laughs. And Assad's like, "We really can translate." So I translated Assad for like 2 minutes, and he was convinced that I could speak his language. Sorry, it's terrible. I know, it's awful. Did you think of a good convention story? Because I have like the doozy of all doozy convention stories. I have like the legendary, but do you have one that you can share with us?
You know, can I wait until the next time that I sign on with you? Because it's going to take me a while to think of a good one.
All right. You can.
But I would love to hear your doozy of a doozy.
Well, let's kind of end a little bit with this, because this is a good one, and then we'll sort of sign off a little bit. So this is legendary in the industry. Everyone knows this story, or a lot of people do. So it begins at Wizard World Convention. A few years ago, or a lot of years ago, they used to have a thing called the Wizard Wheel, and they would spin the wheel. Now, the way it worked is you were a fan, and you would come up and you would pick your category. So you would say, "I want a question about The Simpsons," and then they would ask you a question about The Simpsons, and if you got it right, you could spin the wheel. One day I'm walking by and they say to me, "Hey, Paul, would you be like the guest celebrity spinner for a while?" I'm like, "Great, but I don't know anything about anything." So basically we're giving away the farm. Like, everyone gets to spin because I don't know anything. And so everyone's spinning and winning these things. And at one point, some guy comes up to the front of the line, and he doesn't want to ask a question about pop culture. He wants to ask a question about German fighting ships of the Second World War. And I'm like, finally, that's something that I know something about. So I asked him a question about the Tirpitz, and he thought it was a different chip, you know, and he got it wrong. And I went, sorry, dude, you don't win. And so the wizard people said to me, oh, actually, what we do with the fans, we make them do a physical challenge because they're all out of shape.
Oh,
Wow.
Jumping jacks or star jumps or push-ups. So they said,
Oh,
give
geez. So hard.
terrible, but they would make him do it. And they said, give him a physical challenge. And so I said to the guy, oh, yeah, okay, mate. I'll tell you what, why don't you walk on your hands to the next booth? Because I figured he'd sit up on his hands and he would just walk on his hands. And it's like the entire convention center goes quiet and everybody's looking at me. And the guy turns and I realize he's only got one arm.
Oh my god.
So I go, oh shit. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. And the thing is, I thought that he would forgive, and he's like genuinely pissed. I go, oh, I'm really sorry. Sorry, man. Didn't mean that. I said to the people, give him one of everything, because there was one little slot that you could win it and you could win everything. So they give him everything and he couldn't carry it because he only got one arm, right? So I go, oh, I got it for you, man, because I'm British. At this point, I'm dying. Like, my family will find out. So I start carrying it, and I carry it to his car, and the guy wants to leave the convention. So I spend the whole time carrying it, and then we get to his car, and we load it up, and I say, and once again, I just want to apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry if it upset you. And he gets in his car, and he puts his thing, and he drives off in his car. And you'd figure it couldn't get any worse. Oh, it got worse. So about 3 or 4 months, 2 months later, I'm now at DragonCon, and I'm sitting with Bill Sienkiewicz, and I tell Bill Sienkiewicz his story. Oh, Bill, I had this terrible experience. I really upset this fan. And Sienkiewicz goes, you need to get back your karma. And I said, oh, what do you have in mind? He said, why don't you just go make friends with a random fan, rock their world, it'll get your karma back. And I'm like, good idea, Bill. Bill, if you're watching, it was a shitty fucking idea, because what happened was that I went on the other side of the table and I'm walking around DragonCon and I see this place that sells like googly eyes and Wolverine slashes, like when you're all slashed up, and like buck teeth and stuff like that, right? And there's this woman over there, and she's wearing a Wolverine Origin t-shirt, and I'm like, I went up to her, and she's got a pair of these like Austin Powers teeth in, and I said, hey, nice teeth. And they were her teeth. Right? So I go, oh, I don't know what to do at this point. I'm so overwhelmed with this, and I run away. I didn't even apologize. I was so scared. So I ran away. And I'm like, and that's the end of the story. No, that's not the end of the story. Now for 4 years, they don't have the wizard wheel. They literally canned it. I don't know if it was because of me, but I guess it probably. They canned the wizard wheel, and they finally bring it back. And it's on preview night on like a Wednesday or Thursday at Chicago Wizard Convention. And I go back, and my friend Mel Kalo is now working for Wizard, and they're spinning the wheel. I'm like, it's preview night. They got the wheel back. And I run over, and I'm like, hey, Mel. Oh my God, I can't believe you brought the wheel back. And he's literally hiding behind the curtain. Like, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you should step away. And I go, nah, man, no, let me do it. I've got to make up for what happened last time. Everyone's got 2 arms this year, right? And I swear, the guy spinning the wheel had 1 arm.
No!
And Jim McLaughlin walks up to me and he goes, Jenkins, you're kind of harsh on the amputees, aren't you?
Wait, you cut out when you were gonna. I don't know what limbs were missing. It cut out at that point.
The guy spinning the wheel had 1 arm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it was the same. All right. Oh my
No,
gosh.
same thing. The second guy had 1 arm. I'm like, how the hell do you have 2 people with 1 arm when I'm around? You people. So no one like if you're near me at a convention, something crazy is going to happen. And I warn you in advance, if you hang around with me at a convention, something will blow up. Joe Quesada and I used to always go through this where we'd be sitting together and it's like I remember sitting at a table with Joe Quesada and this fan comes up and he's got his family with him and he goes, "Oh my God, it's Paul Jenkins and Joe Quesada." And we were like, "Come on over, man, come and say hi." And he wanted to bring his family. He said, "Can I get my family?" And we went, "Yeah, bring your family over." So he brings his wife and his 2 kids, and it's the biggest moment of his life. And he said, "Mr. Jenkins, it's like, oh my God, you saved Marvel. And Mr. Quesada, you saved Marvel too. I just want to shake your hands." And he goes to shake my hand, and he hits this pitcher of beer that Joe and I have, and he covers me and Joe in beer. And it's now the worst day of his life. And we're like, "It's okay." And the cutest part of it was he's flipping out now because his wife's seen him and his kids have seen him and he's covered his 2 heroes in beer. And we're like, "No, dude, it's okay." And he gets those little napkins off the table that are already covered with beer and he starts cleaning up the table and spraying us with more beer as he's trying to clean the table. So if you're around me, I apologize. Sorry about that. But there you go. Me and conventions don't really mix. Sorry about that.
I don't know. You did pretty good with us last time.
I thought you were going to say that he was trying to carry a pitcher of beer, but he had one arm.
No.
Therefore, he spilled it all over you. And like you only encounter people with one arm.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past me, by the way, Jill. That's probably a good idea. All right. So we should probably wind up. Thank you so much for having a chance to chat, because I love connecting to people. And I'm really grateful that you all came on. It's such a weird time for everybody, and hopefully we escaped for a little bit. Where can everybody find you on social? Because let's do it. Why not? Jill, where's your social media stuff?
I'm mostly on Instagram, and I'm at the Jill Thompson. I'm also the same on Twitter, but I don't often go on Twitter. I probably should more, but I like the pictures as well as the unlimited amount of typing space on there. And I'm just Jill Thompson on Facebook.
All right. Sin, where are you?
I am on Twitter at SinaAL, and you can find my website at sinara.com.
All right. Diana, where are you guys?
So, I mean, as long as you get my name right with the 2 N's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that's about it. Same with Joe.
Diana Avena.
Yeah, Diana Avena. It kind of rhymes. Diana
Avena. Yeah, Diana Avena. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that. Jay, where are you at?
Find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at JaySandlin. That's JaySandlin_WHN, and at jaysandlin.com.
All right. Excellent. And Ron, where are you at?
At Ron Mars on Twitter. Some Facebook site that I don't actually run. Ron Comments or something like that. That's more of like a fan site. But Twitter is usually where to find me, and ronmars.com is there too. And in need of a serious update, maybe that's a thing that'll happen while we're all housebound too.
Go do it, my friend. Yeah, update your website. So listen, thanks everybody for having a chat. It was really cool. And I love connecting everybody and just letting everybody chat and know that we're all in this together. Nobody's alone. Make sure that we stay in touch. And there comes Jay. He's coming in the other room. Look at that. Social distancing, mate. Social distancing. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will see you again next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know how to leave it.
All right.